We welcome you back to News Talk here exclusively on News Channel 8, and our conversation this time with D.C. Police Chief Kathy Lanier. We'll be going to the phones in a moment. So Donald in Fort Washington, stand by. Your call will be first. And if I can get Judy to call back. Judy, we wanted to speak with you. We were getting ready to pick up on your question or comment for the Chief. Call back. We will take you right after we take Donald. 703-387-1020. That's our number here. Chief, we talked recently with LeVar Burton, the head of the district police union, the Fraternal Order of Police, and he talked at some length about what the union views to be a numbers problem. In short, we've got a growing city, and they say a department that's shrinking. Can you talk about that? Do you have the number of officers?
We've been talking about it for 5 years. Problem is, even though I testified under, oath at my performance hearing for 5 straight years that this was coming, council didn't react to it. So, we have said, this retirement bubble is predictable, and we knew it was coming. We asked to increase staffing back 5 years ago so that when this hit, we would not have a shortage of officers. Now, we're not in, they say we have 500, the union says there's 500 vacancies. There's not 500 vacancies. There's 150 vacancies. But that's 150 officers we certainly could use. What I've had to do to make up for that is to redeploy officers from other assignments to uniform patrol. They have to go out there every 6 weeks, and it's about 107 officers every single week that are working evenings out in patrol that are coming away from other assignments. So there's nothing I can do now. I can't hire enough people to make up for the number of people that will retire. So, for example, this year...
And the bubble that you referred to is in the
it's
early
just starting.
90s. And yeah, so
this is the first real year.
1991, the city went out and hired a lot of officers at one time, probably too many in terms of how many you can properly train and bring
which is why we're not going to do that again.
And now we're 25 years in, so that retirement wave is upon us.
Yeah, so right now we're down about 150 officers from what our authorized strength is. So it's not a crisis yet. What I asked the mayor to do, because it's too late to hire now. I mean, the union's saying to go out and hire people. Well, we're hiring 300 plus people a year. That's all we can safely hire without compromising standards. And I'm not going to compromise standards, because that starts to work for you in the opposite direction. What I asked the mayor to do was to give me 100 civilian positions, because we've lost 300 civilian positions, or 200 some civilian positions, and so I can put 100 cops back on the street right away. We've already hired a number of those civilians, and by the end of the fiscal year, we'll start into that hiring of the full 100 civilians, so I can put 100 cops back out. So we'll be okay through this year, going into the next fiscal year. But we're expecting 400 plus to retire, or to attrit out of the police department each year for the next several years, and the most we can hire is 300. So you do the math. Each year it's going to be less and less patrol officers on the street. And if you take into account right now, 158 of my officers are in the academy. So that's another 158 that are not on patrol right now that people are experiencing. So I can make up for it with overtime for a while, but it's going to get to a point where we can't make that up anymore.
To the phones, line 3 first. Hello, Donald. Thanks for your patience. You're on the air with Chief Lanier.
Yes, good morning, Chief and Bruce. Hope all is well.
Hi, Donald.
I wanted to just reach out. Now, first of all, thank you for your service there. My question is, with respect to community policing as holistically speaking here, and as a representative of the major city chiefs of police, to what extent are you seeing hopefully an increasing partnership between the police department and the churches? Often these things are addressed reactively in situations bubble up, but proactively, what are you seeing?
Thank you.
We would love to see a lot of people be more proactive in the community. So we have a great relationship with our clergy. We do a lot of joint walks in the community. I know they do some outreach from the churches in the community. But the bottom line is the culture that I talked about earlier, the culture that makes it feel okay to pull out a gun and shoot a person you've known your whole life because you have an argument. That culture is something that has to be addressed proactively in the community, and it's not something that the police are going to change. When you have that culture that is kind of entrenched, this is a community issue. It has to be addressed through the churches, through the family, through the community, and the only thing that the police can do in that culture is react and arrest. or try and be proactive in terms of taking a person that has a gun before an illegal firearm before they hurt somebody with it.
I was surprised not that long ago to see officers in a neighborhood that I know well, going door to door, introducing themselves to people, saying, we're here, can we help you, can I give you my card, this sort of thing. Folks are really eager to have that sort of relationship building.
Oh, people love it. When the footbeat officers go and knock on the door, they love it.
And there's a hunger. We were out yesterday talking to people, and there's a hunger for people to see more officers in the neighborhood. I want to give you a flavor of what we heard yesterday near Eastern Market.
Put more officers out here on the beat. Flood the streets with them. Let them get to talk to the kids, the elders, so they can feel the vibes and things going down. Get them out those cars where they can sit in those air-conditioned cars. Get them out there and walk.
Your thoughts, Chief?
You know, we have, on average, 300 footbeat officers out a day, on average. And we just pushed out more mountain bike officers. So in the summertime, there's an awful lot of foot patrol officers out there. I see them all over the city. I see them in Eastern Market. And it's not just during the day. They walk in the evening, and they walk on midnights in some places as well. So they are out there. I think it is a matter of they have to, you know, have that individual contact with people for people to note that the officer's there.
Right.
You know, as you said, once an officer knocks on your door and introduces himself, and you know his name, and you know he has the same Officer Brown that I saw yesterday, and now I see him every day because he's come to my door and talked to me. So I think that makes a big difference. But there is a balance. I mean, I can't put all the officers on foot patrol because, you know, we still have to answer those 911 calls. And I'll tell you, you know, for a city that's growing as rapidly as we are, we've had 2 years now of increases in calls to 911 and calls for service. A lot of it is not crimes, but it's other police-related matters. So 15,000 additional calls 2 years ago, another 20,000 additional calls last year, and our response time has dropped by almost a full minute. So we're still responding very effectively to calls. That's a tough balance when the city's growing that quickly.
Delroy Burton, the head of the FOP, in our conversation the other day, talked not only about the numbers situation, but morale. He said morale isn't good right now. What's your
I think as a nation, morale for police is tough. I mean, we watch, you know, obviously it's just as hard on our morale when we see video of a police officer doing something, especially uses of force, that we all look at and think, oh my God, how did that happen? But it's also very tough on our morale when we watch people just blanket attacking police and saying police are not good and police don't care about the community, because the ones of us that are here, we're here because we do care. And, you know, we put a lot of hours in and we sacrifice a lot of time with our own families to protect other families. So it's tough.
Is there a sense that of holding back, maybe not across the board, I'm not asking that, but do you worry that, or do you hear of moments where, do you suspect there are moments where officers hold back because no one wants to be the next viral video, the next national, the next national case where there's an allegation of excess force and it's a viral, it's a big thing.
Sure. I mean, how could you not? I know, you know, officers have to make split-second decisions, and, you know, those are things that you're going to do based on your training and your instinct and what happens. But do I think that there's officers out there that are going to possibly delay a response that could get them killed? Surely I do.
Let's go to the phones. Line 4, Judy and Brandywine, you're on the air. Thanks for calling back. It's your turn. Hello.
Hi, yes, good morning. Good morning, Bruce. Good morning, Kathy.
Hi, Judy.
Hi,
just
Judy.
wanted to call in because I heard Kathy mention something about repeat offenders. And the purpose of my calling in is because I had a son that was murdered at 27 years old in D.C. By a guy that was high on PCP, and he shot and killed my son. I received no justice for it. However, the point I'm making is they need to take a look at the judges. The judge, Rona Beck, made a decision to not display his priors. So therefore, he was not convicted for my son's murder. And I was very disappointed with that. So the point I'm making today is perhaps they need to take a look at the judges and take a look at the people that are making, you know, allowing, you know, repeat offenders to walk the street. 3 months later, this same guy was caught on the street of D.C., high on PCP again, carrying a gun. They arrested him. So he did serve 2 years, but that still gave me no justice in terms of my son's death.
Sure.
And that's Judy. First of all,
Judy, we're all very
sorry for your loss. And I tell you, I hear that story and I see that play out over and over again. And for Judy, the person that took her son's life, to spend 2 years in jail just does not feel like justice. And it doesn't feel like justice when that same person then hurts somebody else's child. You know, so there's something wrong somewhere, and I think, you know, we need to figure out what it is. If there's gaps in our justice system, by all means, let's fix it. We don't believe that, you know, housing low-level nonviolent offenders in jail is the right answer. Nobody wants that. But we know that there are some people that belong in jail, and they should be in jail.
There's something wrong when somebody kills a baby, as you and I talked about off air.
Yes. We just made an arrest about 20 minutes after the press conference yesterday. We made an arrest in a 28-year-old person who was responsible for the death of his own 5-week-old infant. So 5-week-old infant that is no longer here. Blunt force trauma injuries from the father.
It's rough. It's very sad.
Yep.
Chief, stand by for just a moment. We'll take a break here, our final break, back with our remaining moments with, and your phone calls for, D.C. Police Chief Kathy Lanier.